So Charli XCX is back with her new album Wuthering, which is a companion piece to the Emily Bronte classic novel, which has been adjusted and adapted into a movie several times. And of course this is coming off of Charli XCX's 2024's Brat, which was one of the most anticipated and beloved album by critics of the 21st century. Let's be honest, it's considered a pioneering piece of pop music. The movie is directed by Fennell, and of course this is a diversion from what we're used to from Charli XCX, as she takes on the challenge of making a soundtrack for a movie. And of course we get the impression that Fennell and Charli XCX have good chemistry, as this was meant to be. Charli XCX was meant to be making one single track for this project, and it turned into a full album. While she was on tour, she ended up writing it. And now, with her major label being distributed by Atlantic Records, it allows for better creative freedom, kind of like what we saw with Georgie earlier this month. And we kind of get that already just without listening to the music. Brat, this bright green, kind of sickly, very jarring album cover, but minimalist. And then we of course get this darker cover on Wuthering Heights. And this album is a diversion from the sound of Brat, as well, as we kind of move away from these high-octane, thumping pulses that characterize Brat. We enter this more gothic and kind of laid-back but tense environment which you'd expect from the Wuthering Heights soundtrack. We get jagged kind of strings, and we get this kind of orchestral backing. Some of the instruments feel as though they're being sold rather than played, and it's kind of, she tries to bridge this gap. Of course, Brat kind of had this futuristic kind of reinvention of pulsated trap, and kind of tries to enter the more ancient sounding environment of Wuthering Heights, which is of course like a step back into the past, kind of like a time machine into the past for Charli XCX. And as a fan of older music, I'm very glad that on the opening we get this spoken word from John Cale, the legendary musician from Velvet Underground, probably one of the most influential bands of the era of 60s rock. Didn't get their flowers until after we broke up, but are now regarded as quite important, the Andy Warhol group. And John Cale, considered a great artist in his own right, released some of the most interesting music of the 20th century, even after the breakup of Velvet Underground. So to hear him kind of give a spoken word intro to this album is very weird for me. I would not have seen a Charli XCX John Cale collaboration coming, especially considering John Cale is kind of out of the spotlight. He's not like some legends from that era who are constantly in the spotlight. I think I'm gonna die in this house jarringly ends the track. Dying for You kind of tries to bridge the gap between like her old music and her new music. It's kind of painting elegance in kind of a jarring way. It's definitely an attempt to kind of say, yes, we're moving in this direction, but we're still the same artist fundamentally. She collaborates with Sky Ferreira, and they've collaborated many times in the past, but this is kind of an interesting use of Sky Ferreira, one that might be seen as jarring to fans. Charli XCX, this album is probably more interestingly lyrically than Brat, as she kind of moves away from this kind of open to interpretation lyricism, and kind of is more blunt and forthright. She kind of talks about, she kind of tries to capture what Emily Bronte's novel is about, which is about like toxic love and kind of feeling bound to something that potentially you should not be. In Out of Myself, she kind of references BDSM. She says, push my face into the stone, put the rope between my teeth. And it's kind of I don't need to explain that anymore. Seeing things in alters kind of gets back to my previous point of they are the songs that really anchor the point of attachment down, kind of the attachment to and kind of alters kind of like talks about ghosts, but like not in necessarily like a spiritual way, kind of like a ghosts of people that we, as our perception changes of them, they kind of become different, and we kind of mourn the past version. This album is certainly a weird spot for Charli XCX. She seems to have been able to take these sounds that usually do not work on the charts in 2026 and kind of make them like chart hits and chart phenomenons. It's certainly a great spot to be in for her, to be able to have that artistic creativity and looseness whilst also being commercially successful. There's not really a song on it that will get stuck in my head, but it's a good project. I feel the fact that it's like a movie soundtrack or a movie companion piece definitely helps it. I feel like if it was released on its own without the kind of knowledge of the context, it might not have been received as well. I'm gonna give a rating on the album on my album of the year account, Record Wizard. If you wanna see that, go ahead and go over to album of the year.